Welcome to Code with Kurt, the channel that brings you the latest Google Sheets and Google Apps Script videos. In today's video, I'm going to show you how to scrape the Amazon website and pull data into Google Sheets. In particular, the data I'm going to be pulling is I'm doing a simple search on a topic that I'm looking for, and then from there I'm going to pull in the item listed, the image, the URL to that item in Amazon, and then how many stars it has, how many reviews were done to it, and the price of it. And to do that, I'm going to use a tool called ScraperAPI. This makes it easy to pull in because they provide a function that does auto parsing, which brings it in a JSON format. In particular, for 3 sites they have listed here: Amazon, Google Search, and Google Shopping. So instead of bringing in the source code and having to parse through all the source code using probably regular expressions or different parsing tools, the data just comes in JSON format. So if I go over to Postman here, I'm going to call it without the auto parse, and you see you get the source code here in which you would have to dig through. But if I change this to true, like that, and I'm looking up computer mouses right here, I hit send, it comes back into this nice JSON format. And then from there I could go through each one of these objects inside here and pull the data into Google Sheets. So from my example over to my Google Sheet here, what I do is I put a subject line in here, and I can change this. Dodgers jersey blue, I'm going to look that up. I'm going to hit get records. It's going to clear out what I previously searched, and it's going to start pulling page after page. So if I go back over, I'll just wait here until this runs. So there we see data coming in. It's pulling from the page 1, listing the items, and then it's going to go through each iteration of pages. So this is page 1. And now it's going to go to the second page. So if you were searching through Amazon, you get the first page, and then the second page, and the third page. Now it's going to pull all the items from the second page. So sometimes this will be slow at times. Sometimes you'll get failures. Not a perfect solution, but scraping is never really a perfect solution anyway. But this really cuts through and makes things a lot easier to grab the data you need. There it goes, as page 2 now coming in, showing all these things listed for page 2, and then from each one of these I have a 5-second delay between each page. I don't know if that's necessary, but that slows down a little bit the calls, and maybe it helps with coming back with data. So here's page 3 as well, and it just keeps going. So I'm going to hit cancel here after page 3 because that's all I want to see is page 3, but this will keep going until we pull all the records. So I'm going to hit cancel there. And then to show you back on Postman here, if I go all the way to the bottom, you get each item listed here. They have all these pages here, and I forgot to. So what I'm doing is I'm going through the first list, then I'm going to call this second page, pull that list, pull the third list, pull the fourth list, pull the page 5 there, and that's how I'm building the spreadsheet. And then from there, once you have all this data in, you can do filters. Right now I got a filter set on the Google Sheet, and I could see, like, you know, I want to see 4.7, 4.8, 4.9, and 5 here, you know, and I want to see everything that has Dodger in the condition here. So text contains Dodgers. Hit OK. Now I'm down to just this short list right here. And to show you quickly what I'm using a free version. Here they have the price points of what you can do when you start getting really involved, but I'm using this down here, the free 1,000 calls that you can make per month, and this gives you full features enabled as well. So this is really nice just to learn, develop, and learn how this all works. So I'll give you a step-by-step process of how I put this together. If you're new to this channel, subscribe to catch my latest videos. Let's get started with this video. Here I'm on my new Google spreadsheet. I'm going to give it a name. Next, I'm going to give my sheets names down here. I'm going to add a sheet here. I'm working with 2 sheets. First sheet I'm going to call table. And make sure it's exactly how I have it here, because that'll match up with the code. And I will provide the code in a link in the description below the video. So my second sheet name is settings. Like that, all capital letters. Same with table, is all capital letters here. Next I'm going to set up my settings sheet real quick, and this will be, I'm just going to say API key. You will need to get a key here, and I'll kind of show you how to do that. So I'm going to leave that. We're going to put the key in B1 here once we get it. And I'm going to bold that like that. Next I'm going to go back to my table sheet. We're going to set this up. So the first thing I'm going to do is A1 is going to be search. Like that. And then B1 is what we're going to search for. I'm going to merge these 2 cells together. So I'm going to highlight them both, go up here, and hit merge cell, merge all here. So those 2 are merged together. And then this is where we're going to put what we're going to search here. So I can make this bold a little bigger there. So I'm going to make this, if I can get it here. Make this row a little bigger and make this a little row bigger here. So we're going to go down to 3, row 3. We're going to start our header for our table. First one's going to be num, page, item, image, URL, stars, reviews, and price. So that is our header records. I can make this bold up here, and I'm going to give it just a shade of color in the background. Don't have to do this, just this preference basically all it comes down to. So here's our header record. I'm going to shrink down the page here since these are just numbers here, and then I'm going to open up my item column up a little wider, the image and URL, and then we got stars, and just leave it like that. Next I'm going to grab this line right here. I'm going to pull it down, and what I'm going to do is make the first 3 rows like our header here. So bring it down below the header record there. So now when I scroll up and down, that's locked in right there. So now we have our sheets set up here. I got my table and settings sheet set up. Next I'm going to go to, next I'm going to get our API key here. So basically what you do is you go over to ScraperAPI website. I'll provide a link to this as well in the description below the video. And next we're going to do sign up, and you can sign up through your Google Sheets. So I'm already signed up, but it's going to quickly flash a screen to sign up. I sign up through my Google account, and then quickly it provides you an API key. So I'm going to hit that sign up. I'm going to hit login here. So it takes you to this screen, log in with Google, provides you a key. So you don't have to sign up with any credit card or anything like that. You just sign up through your Google account. It provides you for API key, and then you get, basically I think the first 7 days you get 5,000 calls, and then after that it goes down to 1,000 calls a month. So here's my key. I'm going to highlight that. You may not see it here. I probably have it covered right here because I don't want anybody else to have my key, but I have it, it's right here underneath, so I copied it, and now I'm going to go paste it into B1 here. So I'm going to hit Control, paste it right there, so now it's in my sheet. So that's done. Setting sheet is done. Now I'm going to go back over to the table, and now we're going to go into the app script. So here's my Google App script. I'm going to give this a name. Scrape Amazon Google Sheets, same as my Google Sheets name. I'm going to hit rename. Next I'm going to copy in my code. So there I have it copied in. I'm going to hit save. Next I'll quickly take you through the code. So the first thing is my main function. Oh, next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to attach my function to my button, which I need to create yet. I need to create a button. So now I have my code here. I need to attach this procedure to a button. So I'm going to go back over to my sheet. I'm going to make a button here. So I'm going to go over to Format. I'll take that Insert instead, and then Drawings. And I'm going to go up to Shape. And we're going to do the rectangle here, and then I'm going to pick this one down here that looks like a button. I'm going to hit the left key on my mouse. I'm going to drag it over like that, and I'm going to double click into it, and I'm going to give it Get Records, like that. I want to bold it and center it, so I'm going to go over to these three dots over here. I'm going to hit bold, and then I'm going to go ahead and center it up like that. And then after that, I'm going to hit Save and Close, and it's going to pop it in on my screen here. So then I'm going to move this button up to close to D1 here. And I'm going to shrink it down. You can shrink it down and make it a little smaller. It just fits right in there like that. Now I'm going to I'm going to go over to my code. I'm going to grab this function. Don't use these brackets here. I'm just going to grab the name, main function. I'm going to copy it. I'm going to come over here to my button here. I'm going to hit these three dots, and I'm going to assign script, and I'm going to copy that in, main function, and I'm going to hit OK. So now these two are attached. So when I click this, it's going to run this function right here. So to go through the function, first thing I'm doing is clear records. I'm calling another function down here, clear records. So I go find that. So I'm setting up my SS object from my spreadsheet, and I'm using my table name. That's why it's important to keep this the same as your sheet name. And then that's my sheet name object, and then I'm getting the range A4 to H1000. So I'm just clearing 1,000 rows basically in my table, and I'm hitting clear. So again, A4 over here, and then all the way down to H over to H, and then down 1,000. Clearing those out. That's just a simple clear before we start our search. So after I got my records cleared, I'm going to go down here. I got my spreadsheet object set up as SS. Then I'm declaring my table sheet here. I'm grabbing the object of my table sheet and my settings sheet, both of them. Then I'm getting the search value. So the first thing I'm doing is getting the search value off the table sheet, because I'm going to need these two things to call. So I'm grabbing this. And the next thing I'm doing is I'm grabbing my API key off my settings sheet. So then once I have those, then I'm going to go through my URL, and I'm going to go over the documentation and show you how this goes. Basically, you use their API.com for every call here, this API, ScraperAPI.com. Then you follow it with your API key, then your URL. And our URL is going to be Amazon right here. So I'll go back over here. So again, ScraperAPI.com. Next, I'm doing the question mark. That's how you start your parameters here, your get parameters. You do an API key right here, which I grabbed up here. I'm using the auto parse of true. That's going to return back our JSON format. And then the URL I'm doing is the Amazon, and they use K as their search. And then I'm doing my search value here, which I grabbed from my sheet. So now I'm going to scroll down here. I got a logger command, which will show in the debug what my URL is. If I'm using the execution log, it'll point out. So these are just callbacks, not necessary, but used for debugging. Just you want to see your URL. Next, I'm doing call my API. So I got my URL in here. I'm doing a URL fetch app. This is a Google app script command here. Fetching the response. The response, I'm turning it into JSON, and then from JSON, I'm parsing out and coming into the data object here. So data object array. So the reason I put it in this, that way I can easily do for loops and stuff through it and grab all the values out of it. So the first thing, I got a variable called item count equals 1. I keep track of how many items I'm pulling back. So I'm starting with it with 1. I'm doing a for loop from my data. This is my data coming back. I'm getting the length of it because I want to see how many rows we have, and then we're going to cut through each section of the results. It's important to know here, the results right here, because that's what I'm looking for. So if I look through my data on the Postman, and I go up to, if I catch it right here, somewhere here. So here, results. First it does the ads up top here, the ads right there, which I'm ignoring right now, and then it does the Amazon choice, which there's none in this example, and then results. So I'm really just interested in the results. So I start my search there. So I got my results, I'm checking the length, and then I'm going through each one. So this is my first result, my second result as it counts through. So I'm going through each one on this for loop. And then from the results, which I'm cutting my data results, now I got my results object here, and then from there I'm getting the name, image, URL, stars, price, and total reviews. And I'm using the I as the index for each one of these. So it's kind of like a multi-dimensional array is what I'm cutting through, and that's what this is being put into, is an array up here where I could cut through. So again, grabbing all these parameters, and if the star is null when it returns back, I'm just putting that as 0. That means there was no reviews done on it, so there really wasn't any stars to report. Same with reviews, that comes back as null, I'm reporting that as 0. And then I'm adding the record right here, calling this function add record, which I could go down here, and add record is pretty. So I'm pulling in the parameters, count, page, name, image, just everything that's in our table. Again, doing the SS spreadsheet object, and I'm grabbing the table sheet, and then I'm appending a row to our sheet. And append means it's just taking the first empty row and I'm going to append it, and it keeps adding after that. So that's the first sheet that comes up. And then the next part of this is I'm going to dig through the pages that come with this as well. So next I'm declaring my pages object. So if I go over to my JSON, I go all the way down to the bottom, there's a pages section here, page nation there. So I'm using that, declaring this same call here, and I'm calling that pages. Then I'm doing if the length is greater than 0, so I'm just checking first to make sure there is pages. If there is pages, then I'm going to go through each page. I do a sleep right here of 5 seconds just between each call. I don't know if this is necessary. I just put it in there because I think maybe if you don't have the calls going so rapid, so fast, maybe it'll return back with less errors and stuff like that. So again, my API call again, API key, same thing, and then I'm passing in the page URL here. So pages, I'm basically passing in this URL right there. Right there with the index here is 0, starting with 0 and counting up. Then again, getting my response, getting the JSON object back, and then turning that into an array, object / array here. And then from there, I'm going to go through each record, finding the length, getting the results. Same thing as up top, grabbing all the fields I need. Stars again, if it's null, it's 0, review is 0, adding the record here, and then counting the item up there. And I'm doing the same thing with the item count up here too. So then this is just breaking down the pages. So I'll go through each page and count, every time I'm doing a page. And again, I'm doing this passing in the page here. I think up here, up top, I'm doing the first page here, and then down here I'm kind of using the index right here and adding 2 to get because the 0 doesn't count, 1 I'm already using, and then I'm adding 2 to starting with page 2, and as it counts, that's how I'm passing my pages in. So I think that completes all the code here. So next I'm going to save it, and the next thing I'm going to do is run it. So I'm going to go over to my Google spreadsheet, and I think the first time I run it here, we're going to go through permissions. So I'm going to run it. It should kick back with permissions. If it doesn't, it'll just run out, but I think it should. There we go. Authorization required. I'm going to hit continue. I'm going to choose my name, my account name, advanced. Go to Scrape Amazon Google Sheets down the bottom here, and then I'm going to allow it to create, delete Google Sheet spreadsheets. And I'm going to allow to connect external service. Hit allow. So then I'm going to have to click it again. It stops the first time, and I'm going to click it again. Well, I need to put something to search first of all, so I'm just going to put LA Lakers jersey. I just want to see all what's out there on this. I'm going to hit get records, and now it's starting to run. And if I got everything set, I should see some records here coming fairly soon. So there we go. We got our first records coming in. And we got everything lined up here with the page, the number, and everything coming through. So that concludes this video. If you have any questions or comments, please leave it below the video. Until next time.